You're listening to the ADHD Heroes Podcast, a podcast where we speak with the heroes of the ADHD community, namely educators, mental health professionals, and of course, those with ADHD themselves, to gain insights, tools, and most importantly, inspiration towards succeeding and thriving with ADHD. I'm your host, Rabbi Shmuel Reich, a high school Rebbe and an ADHD coach in private practice. Welcome to the show. Hi there. On this week's episode, I spoke with Chaim Rutenberg, who came on the show to discuss his personal story. We did something very unusual for the ADHD Heroes podcast, which is that we did not use the term ADHD to describe his condition. We rather used the term high-energy thinker. This was something he wanted to do, and he explained why in the episode. Within the episode, we discussed challenges in schooling related to needing to learn in a way that suited his brain, figuring out what his mind needed, the value of making learning interesting, teachers and rebbeim who were able to help him and reach him, using his single-minded thinking for different idealistic projects, leading to his founding an organization, making an impact, helping Israeli soldiers called Beef Up Our Boys. He described the role of his higher energy thinking in this project, and also we discussed a lot more. Before we dive into the episode, I'd like to tell you about another podcast I listen to called the Chinuch Today Podcast. The host of the Chinuch Today Podcast is former ADHD Heroes podcast guest, Rabbi Yerachmiel Garfield, Menal of Yeshiva Torahs Emes of Houston, Texas. Rabbi Garfield interviews a wide range of creative thinkers who are already implementing their valuable innovations in the world of education. So whether you're a principal looking for new ideas to implement broadly, a classroom educator looking for inspiration, or a caring parent looking for hope through what is coming down the pipeline, the Chinuch Today podcast may be for you. If you'd like an ad for your product here on the ADHD Heroes podcast, you can send us an email at adhdheroespodcast@gmail.com. Now back to the regular episode. Enjoy. Chaim Rutenberg, welcome to the ADHD Heroes podcast. I'm excited for our conversation today.
Yes, likewise.
Let's begin with a little bit about yourself and your background, just an overview.
Very briefly, it would be I grew up in Muncie and went to Jewish schools for the spectrum of it, private Jewish schools, and went to Israel and went to college, went to YU for a little bit, then graduated from New York Institute of Technology and got married, but I was about 27. A few years after that, we moved to Israel. Been living in Beit Shemesh ever since. And I think October 7th really woke up something inside me, like a certain amount of urgency. I think I would say maybe even Corona, kind of COVID opened something up about purpose in life and mission and what we're doing. So that was, and then October 7th, I got involved with this volunteer project. It was more like it found me rather than me finding it. And we'll go into that a little bit. And from that, it really stretched me and taxed me to the limit, to my limits, to challenge my limits. Maybe that's a better way to put it. And I see this as a real awakening time for people to really respect each other and respect that we're all unique and we're all part of a shared reality.
In an unusual move today, this is the ADHD Heroes podcast, but we're going to use a different term today. We're going to call it high energy thinker or high energy thinking. Shout out ChatGPT for the title, right? So why are we doing this?
So I guess for two reasons. One is that even if I was labeled with ADHD or ADD, I would not want to use the terms because I'm very much against labels.
Right.
And the most important thing is I don't want to disrespect those who may be challenged with this to its fullest extent. And I believe that I have some similar challenges and opportunities that go along with focused and high energy thinking, like real, I don't want to say emotional thinking, but thinking forward and being kind of allowing your life to be driven by a thought process, by a goal,
Right.
and so fully immersive into what you're doing, which I guess makes someone particularly qualified to do certain things, but at the same time, you may miss some things at the edges.
Right. Got it. Okay. So that is what we will do. So looking back in time and zooming in a little bit, what were your schooling years like? What went well? What was difficult?
I guess the simplest word, and forgive my language, would be hell. I am miserable, totally miserable. And for the most part, I had asthma and allergies, so I missed a few years. And I think, I don't want to say I was bright, but I was gifted in certain areas, which meant that I'm a very visual person. So until I could visualize something, can't remember it for a second. I probably can't remember your name. Until I could visualize it. Once I visualize it, I own it forever. And that's been my challenge throughout schooling, whether it was grade school, college, you name it. It was always a challenge. And when I did apply myself, it was almost a surprise that I did well, which to me I would say is the biggest fault of my schooling, is even when I did well, I didn't have the confidence. And that to me even applies today in my work life, is that there's a certain confidence builder that was, I don't want to say stolen from me because I can't judge where I came from. And hopefully time evolves, education evolves, we learn, we adapt. And I'm hoping out of this podcast, maybe some people could hear and say, yeah, we don't need to keep on doing it the same way. We don't need to sit with a book that, even if it's a new version of an old book and it's got some iterative pages and examples, like, dude, that's not exciting. Put yourself in a laboratory, make it interesting. I had years where I failed every class, but the most advanced science class, I got 100 in because it was interesting. And I was pulled out of class to go to tutoring because I don't know if I had dyslexia or whatever it was. I couldn't read. But I remember when I was like 12 years old, like the first book I read was a Hardy Boys book. And then shortly thereafter, I must have been 12 years old, I went to the library and my mom was looking for books for older kids who have trouble reading. And I said, no. And I found Isaac Asimov. Something appealed to me from the cover. And I picked it up. And I literally, within like 6 months' time, I went from not reading to reading just about every single Isaac Asimov book that I could get my hands on.
Whoa.
And that to me was like, boom. Because once it clicked. And knowing how I think, like in university, I tried going for engineering and I tried doing maths and physics at the same time. Huge mistake. It makes sense. Physics 1, math, calculus 1 makes sense. But the problem is that physics is the applied math. I'm a visual thinker. Until I visualize it, I don't know it at all. So like once I learn to respect how I think, I'm going nowhere. And so what happened is that I went to yeshiva in Monsey, a fairly large yeshivas. I won't mention names. And then I went to a yeshiva in ninth grade, which was a very pigeonhole type of yeshiva, meaning black and white, maybe peg type yeshiva, black and white, not just in their dress, but very conformist and maybe backwards type of education thinking. Not backwards, but kind of, I call it the 80-20 rule. Like if 80% of the kids do well in school did pretty well. What about the other 20? Well, the 80 did pretty well. And then I actually met with Rabbi Brody, Rabbi Rudinsky, these rabbis in Monsey. I went into the yeshiva just to meet them, just to see what's going on there. And the second they looked at me, I felt warmth. I felt like I counted, like I made a difference. And I'm still close with them today. Rabbi Brody, I'm close to him. I spoke to him earlier today. He's my mentor through life. And he's told me things from an educational standpoint, which if I had those tools earlier on, or even better inculcated, game changer. I'll just give you one if I may. He said that like you're trying to attack your problems head on. What you need to do is build your skill sets. Once you build your skill sets, then you'll be so much more advanced. And your problems will still be problems, but you'll be so much better prepared to approach them than before. And that was like, boom, I don't need to do everything now. I could love and respect myself. And I could learn a base medrash in 10th grade and then maybe struggle in a different class. So that was like a huge awakening for me. But I've many more examples and stories, but we'll get there.
Wow. So when did you start to realize that you think this way, and when do you start to develop tools?
So I think that I got a lot of confidence from, I'm good at puzzles.
Puzzles, okay.
Like little mental puzzles, these little blocks and circles and different things like that. So I got a lot of confidence from those, from dealing with those Radio Shack kits, back in the day. Like I got a lot of confidence from that. I got a ham radios license, and my parents encouraged me to do that. So I got some encouragement from it, and I
What age
guess
was that?
I was like 13, 14.
Oh, got it. So this was going on for a while before you
Right. And then
did
I
this.
think when it really hit me wasn't until, so in high school, I basically would go to class as much as I had to or wanted to. And then I would study for the New York State's Regents, which was it's a focus type, like high energy thinking. It was a focus type of thinking. They had all the sample tests. I sat with the best kids in the class, and I got very good marks in them, 90s, 100s in those tests, most of them. Some of them had more memory involved, like biology. So the labels I wasn't able to do so well on, but history and math and social studies, it was just basic stories and facts, very easy visualizations. And then I had my math teacher in Rabbi Rudinsky's yeshiva in 11th grade. I basically didn't go to class, which was good because I had this long period. I was able to take like this nice long breaks, and I had a great chevra there, great friends, and I got a 98 on the Regents. And he said, I'm so upset with you that you got a 98 on the Regents, because if you had gone to class, you would have learned so much more. And he failed me. So I had to go to Ramapo College and take like, try to think of the gentle term to call it, but it was like pre-college algebra or something like that.
Right.
So it was like a lower level class, and it was just an interesting mix of people, whatever it was. And to me, it was like, I felt like, I don't know, it was just a wake up call a little bit mentally. And then the real one that hit me tremendously is throughout high school, I had good tutors for math, and they were helping me get where I had to go. And then when it came time for the SAT, I figured I would have to study for the SATs. I would have to get tutors and spend all this kind of money and efforts. In the meantime, I was actually in yeshiva in Milwaukee, and it was like the last 2 weeks of the yeshiva year or whatever for the Pesach, and I took a bunch of sample SAT tests. But I started out like at 800, and then my final test that I was taking, I got 1600s in my sample tests. I'm not saying anything brag here, but it was just, and then the night before the test, I didn't even think in my mind that I could do well. I didn't think for a second that I could ace it. I just wanted to go to Israel the next year, and my dad's like, You get into college to YU, you could take the year off and go to Israel. So I had to take the SATs to get into YU.
Right.
And their standard was not, it wasn't, I didn't need a 1500 to get into YU. Not
Right.
that YU doesn't require, but just, and so I stayed up the whole night before. I literally did not sleep before the SATs. And I remember taking the SAT in some high school in Milwaukee. And every section, there'd be like a 3-4 minutes where the proctor would read the introduction to the section. I'd fall asleep. And then someone would wake me up like 10 minutes into it. Like, oh, wake up, you got like 15 minutes left. And I quickly did it. And I ended up getting like, I don't know, 1260 or something, which is not a terrible score.
That's not bad.
But to me, it was like, why didn't I believe in myself? Like, why can't I have my own unique way of thinking? Like, who gives someone the right? Like, I did pretty good, and I focused through it. I was like, I did good, but at the same time, it was in a way, maybe I shouldn't be so hard on myself. Maybe I should embrace that, because maybe that's part of high energy thinking, is that you push yourself and you kind of lose out a little bit, but you move forward and you succeed. Just some ideas.
Right. How were the adults in your life reacting to, these things going on?
So I think in general, the adults, for the most part, wanted to help. I think that the schools had limited resources. Like, I have a good friend, Rabbi Rafi Valinsky. I know his parents are educational consultants. And once my son, he was actually, before we went Aliyah, he was in yeshiva in Monsey Ashar, and they were good Valinskys. They were great consultants.
Right.
And you look at a kid, and instead of looking at it as if, oh, here, this is a language, this is a learning challenge, you kind of look holistically. And my son had a crazy problem, to remind me, is that he couldn't read. And finally, someone in Israel said, go to an eye training specialist, this woman, Nechama Factor. We go to her, and she's like, his convergence is off. He's missing the middle parts of every word. So she did eye exercises with him, and all of a sudden, it's making that difference. So there's so many reasons why we may have challenges. So I think there were people like Rabbi Brody who really cared. There were some teachers who had the ability to excite. I think overall adults wanted to help, but the resources were limited back then. Maybe they still are. So, and then I had, not to say anything negative, but I had some really bad teacher experiences where teachers, like, the good ones saved me, but there was one good one for every 10 bad ones.
Right. Oh,
and I'm using that word intentionally. I mean, it's just like, if you see something's wrong, just at least take the effort. Class is not about behavior. And what about me? What about me? I'm sitting in the back of the room. I can't read. What about me? How could you engage me? What can you help me with? And there were teachers like, I think Rabbi Mashinsky. I don't know if that's how he's an amazing teacher. And in the Talmud, there's many, many pages. And the Mishnah, there's huge text. And he would do a test for people memorizing inside. And then he did a test for people memorizing outside. So I got none inside, maybe 1 2-liner, but I did the whole thing. I had all the stars for the outside.
Nice.
And it was like, there's something going on here. And he made me feel great about it. And that to me built confidence when so many things in life, so many, like, took it away. And I'm grateful that I pulled through it, because so many things could have happened which would have prevented me from pulling it out. If I hadn't married Rabbi Brody, Rabbi Mashinsky, if I hadn't, even that teacher, or there was in Yeshiva Valley, they had this teacher, Mr. Smolar, who was the science teacher. He was considered very, very difficult. And I got hundreds in his class. And no one got 100, maybe one other guy got, because it was fascinating. He had models and mobiles and cells and pulleys and levers. And I'm like, that's so cool. That's so exciting. It's dynamic laboratory. My energy's moving. And so it makes the difficult parts bearable.
Right. Wow. So if there is a message you want to give yourself to your schooling years, what do you want to tell yourself then?
Was probably just a hug. Just you're okay, you're good, you're unique, you're special, and you're right. Most people are limited. And you're coming from a similar background that they're coming from, so yours probably going to be limited as well. But
Right. Amazing.
you have value. You have value.
And what do you want to tell parents and teachers who see kids who aren't being moved by this standard approaches in a classroom?
First off, just the fact that a parent or teacher is asking that question, power to you. That means you care. Second of all, discipline in the classroom. Allow the classroom to be what we call in Hebrew hefker. You might call it integrated.
It's a good word.
Allow it to be a little more active. Allow it to be a little more engaging. Allow kids to, the best classroom is where kids are talking out of turn. Allow kids to think of an alternative track, like literally throw the curriculum out the door. The school will find a way of passing your kid. So try to make sure the kid has somewhat of a positive experience. The answer might not be this year. But if you keep them going through the year and you built their confidence a little bit, you did well. You did well. Another huge thing is just as an adult that I've seen is that, like, ask. Sometimes, like, this huge lesson, you call a friend. You want to get to the point. I need this. Can you help me with that? Start the conversation. How are you doing today? You never know what they're going to say. And sometimes you literally are missing out on the golden opportunities to connect with a child, or frankly, an adult, by not just asking, how are you doing? Oh, my grandfather just passed away. Oh, we're moving houses again. Oh, whatever it is. Just take a moment. Those moments are golden. And then sometimes that'll frame everything. And we're all special. We're all special. And we all have a special job. And it's an ounce of empathy is worth all the life experiences in the world. And I think you would agree to that. Most people would as well. To explain what that means is that if you're able to relate in your own life of your own challenge and give that encouragement to a child, to somebody else that you've been there, you feel their challenge, you've been through that challenge, then it just makes you not just a more compassionate person, but you're able to actually troubleshoot. You're able to apply your 30, 40, 50-year-old brain to a 6-year-old's problem. And if you don't do that, all you're doing is you're going to be another one of a 6-year-old's problems.
What are some of the other, I guess, skills you picked up together with Roy Brody that you mentioned before?
So one thing is not just Rabbi Brody, it's his grandfather, Cantor Rosenbaum. I don't know if you knew him, but
I didn't know, but I've heard some of the legends.
He was a person who, he was like in his 80s, 90s when I first met him. He just gave a lot of care. And he believed in the infinity of man. And he believed that you can do anything. You can't, you have to. There's nothing that limits you in this world other than yourself. And like, we'll get to this in the project, but so many times in the last 2 years, I had the opportunity to ask someone this question. If if I have a big mitzvah, a big opportunity for charity for you to do, would you do it? And I don't mean to ask you on the spot, point
No.
blank,
The answer is hopefully yes. All right.
right? Is that some people say yes. A lot of people say, what is it? I don't know. I've got other things going on. So the belief that a life's goal, life's accomplishments bring resources and power to you, goal-oriented thinking is power. It's real power. It's going outside yourself. And that would be a big role model growing up. And that lesson, I think Rabbi Brody also communicated that. Another one from Rabbi Brody is forgive the word, but it's cool. Be cool. Like, just be cool. It's okay. It's so easy to not be cool. And Rabbi Radinsky also was there. There's this tremendous belief in the power of a person and the power of an idea. You have an idea. Wow, it's an idea. Those are life-changing concepts that, again, if you do education right, you'll create an environment that just feeds on this energy. Kids will run to school.
How did they give this over to teenagers?
That's interesting. I recently spoke to a bunch of teenagers about this project that I was doing, and the first thing I said to them was, maybe I didn't say the right things, but I said, if you're going to speak to a bunch of teenagers, you got to tell them not to kill themselves. First and foremost, like, life is awesome. You have meaning.
Right.
Whatever challenge you have may be fleeting. And the fact that you have deep emotion means that you have deep capacity. So, and it's a gift that things don't make sense to you, because that means that you have a heart, you have a soul, you have a brain. Of course, you feel like nothing's going on. Of course, you feel empty because your brain is not being challenged. God wants you to open your eyes and find other things. Excite yourself. See what has meaning. That was one point. The second point I brought up to them was that if you see something, it's because you're supposed to see it. And I was talking about this in the terms of chesed and kindness. If you see the old lady, the proverbial old lady crossing the street,
right,
it's because you're supposed to cross it. If you see a problem, it's because you're the solution. It's from Noah Weinberg also, but that means that, and you need to be that solution. You need to step up. And if it's, to me, it's sometimes making an impact. So that's one of the challenges, is to tell a teen, especially with a learning challenge, is first off, the emotional turmoil that they're going through is like, what's that movie where it says it's a perfectly natural, normal thing? Like, that's such a good line. It's perfectly normal to not want to sit. It's perfectly normal to feel ostracized. It's perfectly normal to feel stupid half the time because you've shown off and you made yourself an idiot. It's fine. That's perfectly normal. And we're all gifted in our special ways. You find your gift. You find your gift. And it's funny. This story comes to my mind. I don't know where I heard one of these Jewish recordings or tapes. Is there was a kid in yeshiva, and his teacher, like, butchered it. Like, literally, he couldn't sit. He just jumped on off his seat, and his teacher kicked him out of class over and over again. And eventually the teacher's like, just go, just get out of here. Nothing's ever going to come of you. You're just wasting everyone's time. I have no patience with you. Just go. He kicked him out. Young teen. And the kid went through hell, from one yeshiva to another yeshiva, one place to another place. Years later, the kid ends up getting his life back together and becomes a paramedic, which is amazing.
Sure.
I know someone else like this who can't read, but was a paramedic in the army. Because when someone has passion for something, they find a way. And this same teacher, years later, has a massive heart attack. And this kid comes and now as an adult, he ends up saving his life. And the teacher's like, nothing, came to nothing. You saved my life. And another similar story. I had a friend similar to this that a teacher also just butchered the kid, kicked him out of shit for something he didn't do. Someone had, I don't know, pornography or something in school, and they pinned it on this kid because he was the troublemaker. He wasn't the troublemaker. He was just behind in his language skills. It's like, you totally mixed up. This is the sweetest kid. And they kicked him out for something he didn't do, and he was broken on the streets, this, that. He ends up becoming a Rosh Hashiva in a yeshiva. And he meets this teacher. And the teacher starts. He says, you know what you did to me? You stole 5 years of my life. You know what it was to my parents? That I went to 15 different schools. You know what it was for them to send me to Israel when I was 16 years old? Because I had nowhere else to go. You stole that from me. You stole that time from me. And the teacher, he realized, he started breaking down. And so he says, please, you got to forgive me. You got to forgive me. I feel terrible. Because I'll forgive you on one condition. Every interaction that you have with a kid, remember me.
Whoa. Wow. That's powerful. Incredible. So with that in mind, what inspired this big project we're going to talk about a bit?
So one of the things that really woke me up October 7th, and just in general life, one of the beauties of living in Israel and working a night job is that you put a few hours in the morning, put a few hours at night. It's a wonderful lifestyle. And you're living in Israel. And life is just beautiful, thank God. And then October 7th hit, and it really woke up in me that we needed to collectively do more. We're not doing enough. So I started out doing a few projects. Anything that came my way, I just did it. And there's a certain amount of immediacy, because one of the things that we heard early in the war is that the army knew what was going to happen, and they didn't jump on it. And one of the things that hit me hard with the girls, these female soldiers who were guarding the border, and they were the scouts, they were the eyes for the army, and they saw everything. They saw it play out on the other side of the fence. And it just woke up in me that the obvious thing is in front of you. And if you can do it now. So I started out with, the beginning of the war was insane, really, really intense. And we had soldiers stationed down the block. We got them some burgers. There was some funeral stuff that we helped out with. And then someone posted out, that Hadassah Hospital needs 600 volunteers. Everyone show up. It's Wednesday after the war started. Everyone show up in the morning, 8 o'clock in the morning. I'm like, that's not going to work. If Hadassah Hospital needs 600 volunteers, let's get Hadassah Hospital 600 volunteers. Let's do it the right way. So again, this is what high energy thinking, zero thinking, boom, and confident, goal driven. If it needs to get done, I will hit it a million ways till I get there. It's not the best way to get there, but it is a path sometimes to get there. And that's something else that I learned in the last 2 years. Don't beat it. My wife says, Darchei Noah, the ways of God are peaceful. You're doing kindness. Don't need to be so aggressive. So that was a huge adaptation for me. But going back to it, so my wife actually does Beit Shemesh baseball, and I help them with the buses. They're like, every Israel's got everything. They have maybe 200 kids who play baseball, and they leagues. They travel around the country. So I called up a bus company, and I ordered a bus, 1,600 shekels. Asked the family members, "You guys want to chip in for a bus?" Yeah, sure. The first few hours, the bus was empty. And I've had the similar experience where I'm doing something and it's empty. It's like, and then by the morning, the bus was full. We went to the hospital. We were cleaning operating rooms. We were cleaning the floors, sponging, all this other stuff. I met with the hospital staff. I said, "You really have this need? I could get you unlimited volunteers." Every single yeshiva and college program in Israel has nothing to do. There's a war. They can't travel. They can't go anywhere. They would love to spend an afternoon in the hospital, and you'll get the whole school. So we connected them to schools, and within about a day or two, the project was fully taken care of because all these schools and everything. And I was leaving the hospital, and I did a few other projects there with the hospital, and I'm like, God, this was too easy. Like the whole Google Drives and the connections, it was like I got a big paycheck, a big payday in kindness. I think they calculated 1,600 volunteer hours came from that one bus. And I'm like, take this mitzvah, take this opportunity, and give me something that you really need. And I'm like, are you sure? I'm like, yeah, I'm sure. Like, you'll do whatever it takes. I'll do whatever it takes. Of course, that's what I'm here for. I'm here to do whatever I can do. 2 days later, my nephew was on a northern base, and they could only backpack food into them. 97 guys. We hadn't heard from him for a weekend from the beginning of the war to Sunday, 8 days. And he said he was cold and hungry. He was cold because I guess they didn't take heavy jackets up with them. And he was hungry because the only food they could backpack into them was tuna fish, portable cans. How many cans of tuna fish can you eat? So my wife's like, we got to get him beef jerky. Because my son, he's on a low-carb diet. That's what he eats. No one had beef jerky. He said, oh, this is it. Opened the Google Drive, searched online, called everyone who advertised it. How many packages can you make in a day? How long will it take you to get there? What's the cost at that quantity? Get started. Within 24 hours, they had like 150 packages of beef jerky. And with my brother-in-law, we got him jackets. We got him some fleece jackets. And someone was supposed to drive it up north on Monday morning. Actually, Tuesday morning. Because Sunday I got the call. On Monday night, I picked up the beef jerky, dropped off the jackets, and the guy was supposed to take it up north. He said, I'm not going till Wednesday morning. So the rule was, if you can do it now, do it now. So 1 a.m, there were still terrorists out on the roads, picked up the jackets, beef jerky. 6 a.m, drove up north, closed military zone. But I had army jackets, 97 army jackets in the back of my car. So they let me right in. I meet up with his logistics officer. He sees the jackets. He's like, these jackets aren't warm enough for us. He tries the beef jerky. He's like, this is amazing. It's portable. It's like steaks in a bag. This is unbelievable. So I take the jackets to the Pikutza for the big northern base. The guy who got me the jackets, they needed 600. He only had 300 for them. And I had another 97. I give him the jackets. Underneath the jackets were some beef jerky packages. I give him to try. He said, make a brach, make a blessing. He tries it. He calls over some commanders. They try it. They're like, it's lunchtime. We're sending stuff out into the field. Let's send this out, see what the commanders say. Before I left the base, he says, I have an emergency request for 1,000 packages. By the time I got home, he says the other unit that got it, they want 1,000 packages, also an emergency. That's it. It's like October 15th. Open the campaign, beef up our boys, just running. This is my mitzvah. This is my opportunity. And communication was impossible, but I was geared for it. I was prepared to have 1,000 no's. Because where I come from. And so many people said, this is ridiculous. What are you doing? I'm doing more important things. It's food. You're nuts. The soldiers don't need this. You're the problem. There's too many campaigns today. Like, buddy, This is not my cousin Shmuel who's looking for some food. This is the head of logistics. And I was getting phone calls from parents nonstop and soldiers because I was advertising. So while we raised maybe $10,000 those first few days, we got requests that were insane, huge requests. And then Wednesday, Friday, we delivered it. We decided we're going to put a bracha sticker on the bag, bracha shahako sticker, and we put a beef up our boys sticker on it. And my son and my nephew and the delivery drivers at 2 a.m, they dropped off 700 packages of beef jerky. They put the stickers on the bag. Now it comes on a nice label. Back then it was like individual stickers.
Right.
The whole floor was covered with them. Oh my gosh. We drove up north, and one of the guys wrote a note. Like, you see, this bag has a note on it. We thank you for your service, your courage, and your bravery. Our prayers are with you and those who fight alongside. May Hashem protect you and allow you to, I can't read it. I'm sure, to return safely to your family and friends with gratitude, Holly. So this was done at a bas mitzvah. People could do this. We could send them the bag. So actually the yeshiva did it, and communities all over the world did over 100,000 of these. And this is beauty. This to me is pure godly energy. And what ended up happening was I had parents coming, begging me for beef jerky. My son doesn't eat fish. Excuse me, he's a commander, like nonstop. Excuse me. And then Motzi Shabbos, a few hundred packages I sent down with this guy who got me the jackets to Gaza. And Motzi Shabbos, he tells me Saturday night, he's like, the guy I sent stuff to, I was sending him convoys worth of stuff. And this is after 4 days of not sleeping and hearing no's. For every yes, I heard 50 no's. And a lot of people are like, oh, you're doing a project? Here's $50. Hatzlacha Rabba. $15. Courage to you, my friend. Forget about it, right?
Right.
But to say no, like, those a big word. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
$10 and a bracha is better than I don't know how many zeros with nothing, you know?
Right.
And then he's like, you won't believe this. He said, I wish I could play it for you. Maybe I'll send it to you. You could incorporate it. He says that you won't believe this. The guy was sending tons of gear to, all kinds of stuff, convoys of stuff. He said, take all the stuff out of the trucks, take all the money you raised if you have to, and just get us beef jerky. This is what we need. It's portable food. It's lightweight. It's brilliant. And he's like, my friend of mine, I told her what you're doing. She said she was laughing. But this is what we need. And from the beginning of the war till today, it's still a need. We're still doing it.
Chaim mentioned in the episode that he was going to send a recording that he got from a grateful recipient. So here's that recording.
Chaim, I just got had the most unbelievable phone call that is truly Hakara Tatov to you and your efforts that I never would have expected. I got a call from one of the chief logistics commanders on a southern base that I went to see on Friday. And he said to me, David, he said, and by the way, this is a guy that placed a huge order with me for tomorrow, okay? Huge. Rain jackets, socks, underwear, all sorts of, I can't even remember all the things he wanted. He says to me, David, I have to tell you something. The guys were fighting each other for the jerky. He said, cancel everything I've ordered and bring jerky. He said, it's lightweight, it's protein, they can take it with them, they can't carry heavy things. He said, that is what we need, it's ingenious. He said, even if it means that money has to go to that instead of the other things I ordered, that's what I want. I said, how many? He said, I'll take as much as you can bring. I said, 1,000? He said, as much as you can bring. He said, I will make sure it gets distributed. He said, it's ingenious. Chaim, that is all because of you. That is all because of you. I wish you had been on the phone call because I never would have thought of this. And I'm going to share this message with a friend of mine too, who said, I won't tell you her name, but she said, what a ridiculous idea. And you are a genius. Now my question is, how much can I get by tomorrow afternoon? How much?
And a lot of what we did in the beginning. So when I heard that, we hired 4 chefs, and we rented a shul hall because we knew we had to do this big fast. And Nachman Seltzer, he wrote this in his book, Missiles, Miracles, and Mesirat Nefesh. It's a great chapter in there. It's got the intro to the story and kind of you'll read it, it sounds like high energy thinking. I ran forward all of a sudden Sunday morning after I moved chefs and committed to all kinds of things. Sunday morning, I wake up and I'm like, oh my God, these chefs are going to kill me. They're going to kill me. What did I do? What's with my brain? And then I went to the shul hall. We were working there and the place was packed. There were hundreds of people. The energy was amazing. And so many ups and downs in the project, so many ups and downs, so many challenges. And the beauty is that it's supportable. And then what we ended up doing is we couldn't get a reliable vendor. And we ended up opening a factory. We found a factory that closed right next to Gaza, that closed October 7th. Beautiful place. They lost over 100 customers, were murdered. One of their employees was a hostage. Everyone was displaced. And the place was just sitting empty. Gorgeous facility. And we got it relicensed to make beef jerky. And this is our package here. Beef up our boys. And our flavors are courage under fire, strength and honor, sweet and salty. And we have the bracha shahako on the bottom, which is the blessing that everything comes from God. And this rabbi tells us, if you don't know how to process something, just process it that way. And we have this verse. And this verse comes from, we had the soldier here, Ari Zellerman. In the beginning of the war, he was one of the first soldiers that sent us a thank you video. And the story is that part of the process, Ari Zellerman, part of the process was to get this project out fast because we wanted the army to know about beef jerky. So we literally took out loans. We just pushed and we sent, and the demand at the beginning of the war was huge. And we sent thousands of packages out a day, deep into combat units. The whole unit got it. So Ari Zellerman, this is in November time, his dad calls us up and he's looking for beef jerky for his son. So we say, you can have beef jerky. We don't sell it. How many guys in the unit? Take it. So the whole unit got beef jerky and he sent us a video. And then unfortunately, you see the bracha shaka on the video. And then unfortunately, he fell in combat. And at the Shiva, they kept on talking about the beef jerky. So someone wrote an article about it because they heard about it at the Shiva. And I was so moved by it that I said, I'm going to sponsor 2,000 bags. I don't have the money to sponsor 2,000 bags, but I sponsored a sticker. And this designer, YA Fine Arts, they produced this beautiful sticker. And I asked the family for a pasuk because I'm not going to write L'Zecher Nishmas in memory of a soldier and send it into combat. That's a little demoralizing.
Right.
So the verse they picked was Vayokom Vayicha Vayishta Vayelch B'Kocha Chilari. And this is Elijah in Kings 1, chapter 19, verse 8. And
right.
he was out of food. Things weren't going well for him at that moment. And God made a miracle, some tree grew. And what's crazy about this pasuk, this verse, is it doesn't say Vayechel Vayokom. It doesn't say he ate and got up. It says Vayokom first. First you get up. And to me, this meant so much. And such a great story. The crazy thing is, so I paid for these stickers. That day, maybe the next day, someone called me up. And we treat everyone as if they're the biggest emergency and they're the biggest donor. And it turns out someone who we gave to many, many times, she was so enamored by what we were doing for her son's unit, she reached out to some family friends somewhere, and by a brigade, they sponsored $20,000, which was like one of our biggest donations, and that covered the 2,000 bags. So I'm like, this. We have about 1 million stories in this project of how Hashem, the God, winks everything lined up. Like I had decorated bags from Kat's school in Florida, and I had like 3 left. I happened to give it out to some guy from some school that was going to some bases, dropping it off somewhere. The soldier who got the bag with the Kat's high school, this is last week. He went to Kat's high school. It's like, you can't make this stuff up. It's just such beauty, such high energy. But the problem I have, and maybe I should book a session, is that when I'm motivated, I run. I'm focused. I feel it. I see it. And I go all in. Like, I haven't taken a penny doing this. Gave up 50% of my contracting time doing this. I never keep cash reserves. Always to the max. Because the requests are always to the max. And then you have like these lulls, these confidence lulls, where, I don't know what's happening. I don't know if I can do this, or how am I going to cover my overhead? Like, I have workers, I have a factory, like requests, like, how am I covering this? And I think it's one of the gifts that if someone hears about this project, it's like, what do you need? I always thought from the beginning, an organization would take it over. A business would take it over. A donor would say, this is so cool. What could you do with $1 million for $500,000? What could you do with it? How much have you done till now? Let's double that effort. This is so awesome. But that never happened. And I think part of the reason why, but at the same time, other things happen. Other winks from God, other crazy emotional connections like the cat story. And it's like, I feel that God's gift to me back in doing this project is, one, validating where I come from, my innate skills, and at the flip side, teaching me balance, consistency, perseverance, confidence. And it's so hard to be confident. I heard this expression like, just do one more thing every day. If you're continuing, you're thriving. And these are like, because when you're high energy, you're just everything. It's either all or you don't even know what to do. You're just lost. But there's a whole world. And in that world, I need to treat myself almost like a different person. High energy, I need to be balanced. Get some sleep. Be focused. Don't make too many commitments. Just be focused. And then if I'm not high energy now, like, okay, now this is out of my comfort zone. I'm not sure how to perform here. Let's write down some goals. If you make one goal today, this week, you did good. Look back at what you've accomplished the last few days. To you, when you're at the top of your game and things are flying, yes, you could pull together crazy projects in hours. At the same time, like right now, I'm redoing the labels, changing some ingredients, redoing the packaging. These are things that take time. And as long as I'm moving forward and every ingredient is the rabbi needs to approve and the scientists need to approve and the labeling, and you don't make mistakes, and if you have to redo it, and if you rush, you're going to fail because it's a process, or you'll alienate your allies. The rabbi is a big help. If I'm pushing, and I call him 50 times, I'm pushing here, pushing there, I'm missing out on the opportunity.
Yes, it sounds like your high energy thinking really enabled you to be a part to spearhead this project. And while you were doing it, you learned some more skills, meaning you used the high energy thinking well, and then so where there were blind spots, and learned to fill those in, learn some new skills along the way, while doing incredible things. We're going to start to wrap it up. What's a message of hope you want to leave our listeners with for high energy thinkers, family members, teachers? What do you want to share with them?
Everything has its time and place. And one of the things I realized is that God chose me to do this project. I'm not in the chesed business. I'm not in the beef business. He chose me, and he prepared my skill set. And I was able to be the messenger to deliver 120,000 packages directly to combat units. Emergencies don't last for days, but when they do happen and you have your portable food at your disposal, that's a game changer. And I was there. I delivered that, not myself, but all the people that we brought into this project. So my lesson, my message is hang in there. You're raising an amazing person. And you most probably are an amazing person. It's never too early or too late to be amazing. And God made you amazing in his special way. So rock your own style.
Awesome. How can people get in touch with you, either to contribute to your project or for anything else?
Sure. So beefupourboys.com. It's always good to donate, leave a message, a few dollars saying, hey, I heard this on Shmuel's ADHD podcast, whatever it might be. It's always good to bring energy. Thank you, soldiers. Thank you, these guys. Always looking for good opportunities. And they could see Rutenberg, or they could reach out to you, Shmuel, and you could pass them along. And I think that the least I can do is, if there's someone going through a challenging time, and especially when it comes down to an educational challenge, then I'm happy to try to say it's okay. That's all I'm going to say. It's okay. You're awesome. It's okay. And school is important. It's not that important. And maybe your child will go from not reading to reading every Isaac Asimov book. These are like 450, 500-page books, small print. And you never know. You never know. And may God bless you. That's all.
Okay, really incredible. Anything else you wanted to mention?
I just feel, especially, hopefully we're at the end of this war, and it's time. It's time to grow up. It's seriously time to grow up. And if resource is a problem, let's figure out a resource problem. If headspace is a problem, let's approach that problem. Jewish education, it started for the disadvantaged. The kids that had means, their parents educated them and they had private tutoring. But what about the kids in the community that fell through the cracks? Who couldn't afford the private tutoring, who couldn't afford the education? Sorry if my tone is a little strong here. And so we built a school system. And then what happens in our beautiful, wonderful school system, not now, but at least when I went to school, for the most part, is the kids who can't afford the tutoring, the kids who have different ways of thinking or maybe come from challenging behavioral environments, they're the ones who fall through the crack. So we're here to serve what I call the MVP, the most vulnerable person. So let's find that person and serve them.
All right, awesome. Chaim Rutenberg, this has been incredible. Thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you. All right, be well.
Thank you again for listening to this episode of the ADHD Heroes podcast. For questions about the podcast, you can email us at adhdheroespodcast@gmail.com. Also, for sponsorships or to share your story, your ADHD story, you can also email us at the same place, adhdheroespodcast@gmail.com. To be in touch with me about ADHD coaching, writing, or speaking engagements, you can email me at rsreichadhdcoach@gmail.com. Be sure to check out my website, rsreich.com, adhdcoach.com. You can follow me on LinkedIn, or you can check out my blog on nefesh.org. Check out my blog there under my name. Important disclaimer: podcasts are great, but they do not take the place of mental health help or medical help. So if you need help with mental health or need a doctor, be sure to be in contact with some of them. Please, if you like this show, please rate, review, and share with a friend. That's how these things get out there. Thank you again for listening, and thank you to our producers at Pretty Easy Podcasts.